Hello and namaskar. I am Prabhu Chawla. Welcome to E-Expression, a digital platform from the new Indian Express Group for debate and dialogue without fear and without favor. Today, we have a special discourse on the construction of Ram Mandir, Bhagwan Shri Ram, and Indian culture. We have with us today a special panel of people who are known for their prominent views on the Hindu culture. They will share their thoughts with us. We have Professor Subramanian Swamy, a scholar and economist, former union minister, and the most ferocious and devoted fighter for Hinduism and Ram Mandir. We also have Professor Kapil Kapoor, currently chairman, Indian Institute of Advanced Studies, Shimla. Professor Kapoor is globally renowned scholar of linguistics, literature, and religion. We have Dr. Kuldeep Ratnu, Director, India Policy Foundation, who will join me in taking the discussion forward. Welcome to all of you. आप सबका स्वागत है. आज एक शुभ अवसर है क्योंकि यहाँ पर भूमि पूजन शुरू हो चुका है और राम मंदिर 500 साल के बाद दोबारा वहाँ लगभग बनने वाला है. आप सबका स्वागत है. मैं सबसे पहले I will ask Professor Subramanian Swamy, because he has been championing single-handedly, lonely most for many years, fighting for Hinduism all over the country. Whatever symbolizes Hinduism, he is the warrior there in front of us. What do you think? What is the connection between construction of Ram Ranja and Indian culture, heritage?
Well, Ram was Maryada Purushottam, and it's his life on the earth was that of an honorable, moral human being for whom we could all sort of imitate or look up to. Krishna was Sampurna Purushottam. That means he was God on earth, and we could not imitate him or follow him and so on because he was God. Ram was an avatar and also like Krishna, but in this earth he came in the form of a human being who was all full of Maryada. And that is what signifies, and that's what our society has always said, that if there is morality, if there's Maryada, then the society will prosper. And this has always been the highest value, and Ram symbolized that.
When you say, Professor, Maryada, most of the current generation of people don't understand what Maryada stands for. Can you please explain to them what is the connection between Maryada, Purushottam, Ram, and the current?
Maryada means morality, ethics, vision, a whole lot of it's a combination of many things which ends up meaning to say that this is your culture. The word culture has many dimensions, and all those put together constitute Maryada. And Maryada is in fact the basis of Sanskriti.
But all of those who are followers of Maryada Purushottam or Bhagwan Shri Ram, the Maryada which you are referring to, it is missing in many people. They don't understand the Maryada. What does it mean? The way you are explaining, I don't see. Do you find any ideal leader or scholar who is following Maryada Purushottam principles and ideals which you are defining?
Well, it is Kali Yuga. And you can't expect the perfection that in the Yuga of Rama it could happen. Even in Rama's period, you had all kinds of people. You had Manthara, who was provoking for Kaikeyi to revolt when she was actually in a mood to rejoice. So those characters were there. But the victory of the moral and the Maryada always was in the end, in that period, always there. Today we are in Kali Yuga, so you can't say, why haven't we got a Ramchandra ji in Kali Yuga? It's very difficult. But the more we remember Rama, the quicker the Kali Yuga will go.
Professor Swamy, I want to ask you, the construction of Ram Mandir is going to start tomorrow by formally when the Prime Minister Modi goes there. He went there with Mr. Advani when the Rath Yatra started. Now he's going there to lay the foundation, not the foundation, for Bhumi Pujan, what he's going to do. What is the message in this construction will start for the country as a whole, for international community? What's the big message and which this conveys now?
that India is a continuing civilization, and those who try to distort it will not succeed even if it takes 500 years or 1,000 years. We will restore our ancient traditions in modern perspective. And that is what building of Ram Temple implies. We fought for it because we felt that, first of all, Ram was born there. That is our faith. And that's a constitutional right. And in the Constitution, it is faith is what is called as a preamble, which means it's more than a fundamental right. It's part of the basic structure of the Constitution, which cannot be amended. And then the second thing is that we have had 600 years of Islamic onslaught and 150 years of the British Christian exploitation and brainwashing. All that has to be overthrown, washed out, and our original culture in its modern form, because we have always said the Shastras can be rewritten and written and rewritten. So after Manu came Yajnavalkya, after that Mitakshara and so on. Today our Shastra is the Constitution. So according to the Indian Constitution, we will rebuild our society.
Professor Kapoor, you have heard Dr. Swami, he's talking about the continuation of civilization. Can you tell us, because you have written so much, you have spoken so much on this subject, I've heard you're a scholar on this subject. Can you take it further, that what does it mean, continuation of civilization of what kind in a country which is supposed to be propagating secularism so far? What kind of secularism I have not understood so far, but the question is, what kind of civilization? Let us define the civilization which is related to the Ram Raj or Bhagavan Ram.
There is a saying which is current among scholars. संस्कृत के जो विद्वान हैं उनमें कि भारतीय परंपरा, भारत की जो परंपरा है जी, सांस्कृतिक परंपरा, संस्कृत परंपरा, I use the expression संस्कृत सुसंस्कृत सभ्यता, a civilization informed by culture, based on culture. You know, if we have to define, I will say that Bharat Bhumi is Yoga Bhumi according to Vishnu Puran. Bharat ki sabhyata is Gyan Kendrit, centered in knowledge. You know, with the Rig Veda, pehli kitab, pehli book, pehli poetry law. और भारत की संस्कृति मूल्य आधारित, जीवन मूल्यों पे आधारित है. और भारत का जो समाज है, पूरा समाज, उसमें पुराने समय से, विष्णु पुराण के समय से भिन्न भिन्न भाषाएं, भिन्न भिन्न जातियां, भिन्न भिन्न लोग हैं, परंतु भारत के समाज की एकात्मता है, a unity of consciousness, unity, एकात्मता, चैतन्य की, चेतना की oneness है, जो कि भारत की जो सनातन ज्ञान परंपरा रही है, उस ज्ञान परंपरा ने इस एकात्मता को जन्म दिया है. We are unconsciously, we don't know, but we are unconsciously inheritors of the world's oldest continuous civilization based on knowledge. You see, I think Swamiji will agree that for us there are no sacred texts. Vedas are not sacred texts, they are knowledge texts. Gyan Granth hai. We have preserved them not because they are what the God has said. No, they are preserved because they are Jnana. And nothing purifies like knowledge. For the Hindus, as Bhagavad Gita says, nothing purifies like knowledge. So the Samaj is, you know, ekatam because of the Jivan Mulya. When you ask me, sir, what is the continuity of the civilization?
Yes, that's
the continuity of civilization lies in the continuity of these foundational values which have informed our civilization. For example, in Mahabharata we have one parva where Yudhishthir and Draupadi, you know, they discuss, and Yudhishthir tells Draupadi कि हमारे एंसेस्टर्स ने, बुजुर्गों ने हमें बताया है कि क्षमा सबसे बड़ा धर्म है, forgiveness, and this is about 3000 years before Christ. Forgiveness, क्षमा हमारा सबसे बड़ा धर्म है. दुर्योधन को पता है वो गलत है, वो क्षमा नहीं कर सकता. मैं जानता हूं मैं ठीक हूं, ये राज्य मेरा, मैं क्षमा कर सकता हूं. और भगवान राम जिस दिन उनका तिलक होना है, उनको उनकी माता, उसके माता पिता कहते हैं कि आप वनवास चले जाओ, पर एक क्षण के लिए भी उनमें भाव नहीं आता, क्योंकि भगवान राम की वृत्ति क्षमा की वृत्ति. क्षमा एक बहुत बड़ा मूल्य है. दया बहुत बड़ा मूल्य है हमारी संस्कृति में. दया जैसे अब अहल्या का उद्धार किया. और तीसरी बात, सबसे बड़ी बात, हमारी जो ये सभ्यता, एक सभ्यता है, कई 30-40 सभ्यताएं हुई हैं. एक सभ्यता है जो प्राचीन समय से अब तक चली आ रही है. वो उसकी संस्कृति के कारण, उस संस्कृति का स्रोत क्या है? उसका स्रोत ये मूल्य है. और सबसे बड़ा मूल्य जो भगवान राम में प्रत्यक्ष हो जाता है वो है त्याग का. भगवान राम त्याग मूर्ति है, त्याग की मूर्ति है, त्याग की, क्षमा की. अब त्याग देखिए, स्वामी जी ने बहुत अच्छा कहा कि मर्यादा पुरुषोत्तम है, वो अवतार पुरुष है. अवतार पुरुष हम भगवान कृष्ण को नहीं कहते, क्योंकि भगवान कृष्ण बहुत मिरेकल्स करते हैं. राम कोई मिरेकल्स नहीं करते. एक कहते हैं, मानते हैं कि समुद्र ने उनकी बात मान ली, पर उसमें भी पुल बनाया गया. वो मोसेस की तरह समुद्र के बीच में से सेना लेके नहीं निकले. मिरेकल कोई नहीं था, पुल बनाया, और पुल अभी भी उसके अवशेष सब हैं. तो जो त्याग, अवतार पुरुष के रूप में, महात्मा बुद्ध भी त्याग की मूर्ति थे, गुरु नानक भी त्याग की मूर्ति थे. क्योंकि हमारे देश के लोग हमारी संस्कृति से जो प्रभावित हैं, हम सबसे ज्यादा सम्मान उस व्यक्ति का करते हैं जो त्याग करता है. अर्जन करता उसकी नहीं करते. और
प्रोफेसर साहब, मैं थोड़ा, आपने बहुत अच्छी बात कही है दो चार, पर जैसे व्हाट प्रोफेसर स्वामी आर ट्राइंग टू डिफाइन, बिकॉज़ फॉर अ मॉडर्न जनरेशन who are not aware of what civilization Indian culture is, heritage is. So I would like you to just, as a professor, explain to a young student, young people who are listening to it and watching it, what is the uniqueness of our culture which is continuing from Ram Rajya till now, which is relevant even today. एक दो तीन चार ऐसे चीजें बताइए जो फॉलो करें आजकल.
I'd like to make one comment before Professor Kapoor proceeds. Of course, it was fascinating explanation. I enjoyed it thoroughly. He talked about Shama. In my opinion, Shama has to be in the context of a Sandarbh, that is in the occasion, and on the full understanding that the person has been thoroughly defeated. Now, Prithviraj Chauhan gave several times Shama to Muhammad Ghori, and we paid a heavy price for that Shama.
Ram could not have given Shama to Ravana.
No, that's right. He didn't.
एक डिस्पैशनेट सर्जन की तरह, जिस प्रकार सर्जन गैंग्रीनस लिम्ब को काटता है, उसी प्रकार जो एक धर्म रक्षक होता है वो अधर्म को भी काटता है. उसमें फिर क्षमा नहीं आती, उसमें क्षमा नहीं आती. क्षमा, जैसे अभी स्वामी जी ने कहा कि क्षमा जब आपका कोई सेल्फिश इंटरेस्ट कहीं पे आघात हो रहा है, उस आघात को उसके प्रतिरूप में प्रति आघात करने की आवश्यकता नहीं. तो मैं स्वामी जी आपसे बिल्कुल एग्री करता हूं कि क्षमा का संदर्भ है. सर ने जो पूछा, कहा कि आजकल के बच्चे, देखिए मैं ये मर्यादा को ही अगर मैं एक्सप्लेन करूं, हमारे बचपन से, और ये बच्चे आजकल के जो बच्चे हैं, अगर वो अंग्रेजी शिक्षा भूल के मेरी बात सुनेंगे, और अपना बचपन देखे, अपने घर में फैमिली में वो थे। हमारे यहाँ एक सब हमारी माँ कहा करती थी कि बेटा अगर 2 की भूख है ना तो 1 रोटी खाओ।
थोड़ा ऊपर
एक
देखिए
रोटी।
ब्रदर साहब, थोड़ा ऊपर देखिए थोड़ा।
हाँ जी, वह
ऐसे
हमारी
हाँ,
मदर कहा करती थी कि बेटा अगर तुम्हें 2 रोटी की भूख है ना तो 1 रोटी खाओ। ये
जी
संयम है, संयम। मर्यादा में संयम आता है। उन्होंने मेरी मदर टंग में उसे संयम कहते हैं, संयम है। और
जी
संयम भगवान राम में बहुत संयम है, कितना संयम है। अब उनकी उनकी कथा में जाने लगेंगे तो बहुत बड़े। दूसरा देखिए, हमारे बच्चे जानते हो अपने घर में सोचेंगे कि ठीक है पेट भर गया है, उतना ही खाओ जिससे पेट भरे। ये तो माँ घर में कहती है, ये
जी
मर्यादा में आता है। दूसरा है नियम। नियम, अगर किसी चीज को करने के 2 तरीके हैं तो उनमें से एक अच्छा होता है। तो माँ कहती थी कि ये नियम नहीं है, देखो तूने कर तो दिया पर ये नियम नहीं है, ये ठीक नहीं है तरीका करने का। जैसे मुझे प्यास लगी है, मैं किसी व्यक्ति को कहूं कि अबे पानी दे, अबे पानी दे जल्दी, ये एक तरीका। दूसरा है भाई साहब पानी देंगे, पानी देंगे, ये नियम है। तो नियम का मतलब लॉ नहीं होता, प्रेफर्ड वे ऑफ डूइंग समथिंग।
Yes.
ये हमारे जीवन मूल्यों में सिखाया जा रहा है। और तीसरा, जब हम किसी चीज को पैर लगाते थे तो हमारी माँ कहती थी कि इसको पैर मत लगाओ, ये देखो कागज है, इसके ऊपर कुछ लिखा हुआ है। कोई भी वस्तु चाहे वो जड़ हो, वो चेतन ना हो, पैर नहीं लगाना, उसको हाथ से उठा के अलग रखो। ये होती है श्रद्धा। और श्रद्धा हमारे यहाँ रिस्पेक्ट सिर्फ लिविंग बीइंग्स के लिए नहीं, इवन फॉर प्रकृति। फूल, मेरे ग्रैंडफादर, शाम को याद है हमें, हम जब फूल तोड़ते थे तो वो कहते थे इधर आ, कि ये सो रहा है इस वक्त, इसको क्यों तोड़ रहे हो, इसको छेड़ो मत। यू सी दिस संयम, नियम और श्रद्धा। आज जो आप जिन बच्चों की बात कही उनको समझ नहीं आती। संयम हमने कहा कि भी 2 की भूख है तो 1 खाओ। आजकल क्या है, संयम की जगह इंडल्ज। जेब में पैसे हैं, घर से नाश्ता करो, फिर कॉफी हाउस में बैठ जाओ, फिर गर्लफ्रेंड मिले तो 1 बर्गर भी खा लो, जैसे जैसे जो मिलता जाए खाते जाओ, इंडल्ज। और नियम का मतलब है ए प्रेफर्ड वे ऑफ डूइंग इट। नो, नियम की जगह फ्रीडम। आई एम ए फ्री पर्सन, आई विल डू व्हाट आई वांट टू डू। और श्रद्धा में रेवरेंस अपने बड़े बूढ़ों का, वस्तुओं का। आपको ध्यान होगा चावला जी कि हमारे ही जमाने में जो लोग लैम्बरेटा स्कूटर खरीदते थे, बाद में उन्होंने बड़ी बड़ी गाड़ियां ले ली, पर उस लैम्बरेटा स्कूटर को संभाल के रखते थे कि इसने मुझे बड़े अच्छे दिन दिखाए थे। चीजों के लिए भी इज्जत थी। हरियाणा के गांव में 3 जनरेशन की गाय, बूढ़ी गाय रखी जाती हैं, और वो कहते हैं कि जैसे हमारे घर में दादा परदादा रहते हैं, इसी तरह ये गाय को तो मैं रखूंगा, मेरे पिता ने इसका दूध पिया था। ये है श्रद्धा। और श्रद्धा की जगह आजकल क्या है, आजकल जो हम सीखते हैं अंग्रेजी के थ्रू, डिस्पोज ऑफ। एक समय था, अगर छोटा भाई नाराज होता था तो बड़ा भाई कहता था कि भैया क्या बात है, मेरे से क्या गलती हो गई। आजकल छोटा भाई नाराज होता है तो बड़ा भाई कहता है होने दे, मैं इसका दिया थोड़ा खाता हूँ, ये अपनी कमाई खाता है, मैं अपनी कमाई खाता हूँ। और अगर आपकी शादी को 55 साल हो गए, बीवी बूढ़ी हो गई, तो डिस्पोज ऑफ। अगर कोई मशीन खराब, आजकल सर our value system is repair. We repair things, we repair relationships. But today हमारी मिक्सी खराब होती है तो जाके उसको पूछते हैं कितने पैसे लगेंगे, 500 रुपए, और नई कितने की है, 700 की, नहीं दे दे यार, इसको फेंक दे। ये पहले नहीं होता था, फेंकते नहीं थे। फेंकना वर्सेस श्रद्धा, ये मर्यादा है। मर्यादा देखिए कि जब पिता नहीं बोले तो माँ ने कहा कि कहीं नहीं, कि ये नहीं बताएंगे, मैं बताती हूँ, तुम्हें 14 वर्ष वनवास जाना है, तुम्हारी जगह अब भरत राजा बनेगा और तुम वल्कल वस्त्र पहन के जाओगे, सन्यासी बन के, मतलब तुमने अब वहां गृहस्थ जीवन नहीं बिताना। वाल्मीकि कहते हैं कि उनके चेहरे का भाव भी नहीं बदला। उन्होंने कहा अरे बस इतनी सी बात माता, इतनी सी बात। अरे मैं बचपन में विश्वामित्र जी के साथ जंगल गया था, वन गया था, तब से मेरा मन कर रहा है कि मैं फिर वन में जाऊं। तो ये देखिए, इसमें सब चीजें, बड़े बूढ़ों की मर्यादा। जब भरत आते हैं बाद में, तो भरत अपनी माँ से बहुत नाराज होता है। उससे जब वो कौशल्या के पास जाके कहता है कि अगर मैंने कभी स्वप्न में भी सोचा हो कि मैं राजा बनूंगा, तो मुझे 1000 गाय और 1000 ब्राह्मण मारने का पाप। इतना विलाप करता है। कौशल्या कहती बेटा नहीं, उसे गले से लगाती है कि तुम्हारा नहीं है, इसीलिए भगवान का राम का तुम्हारे पे खास स्नेह है। वही भरत जब जाता है राम को लाने, राम तो नहीं आते, खड़ाऊ लाता है, तो जाते हुए राम क्या कहते हैं, मेरी माँ का ध्यान रखना। माँ कौन? कैकेयी। मेरी माँ का ध्यान रखना। ये दया, ये जीवन मूल्य हैं और मर्यादा पुरुषोत्तम है। क्योंकि सर ऐसी बात है, हम आपको पढ़े लिखे लोगों में ज्यादा ऐसे लोग नहीं मिलेंगे, पर अगर आप इस देश के कंट्री साइड में, गाँव में, छोटे शहरों में आप जाते हैं, मैं तो बहुत गया हूँ सर, तो अब भी मैं मानता हूं कि लाखों कम से कम 60% लोग इस देश के अभी भी इन्हीं जीवन मूल्यों से जीते हैं, इन्हीं जीवन।
मैंने सुना आपने काफी चीजें बता दी, हम लोगों ने पढ़ी भी है, रामायण में सुनी भी है बहुत सारी चीजें। वैल्यू सिस्टम आपने कहा कि संयम भी होना चाहिए, त्याग भी होना चाहिए, श्रद्धा भी होनी चाहिए, परंतु आपको नहीं लगता कि राम का मंदिर भव्य बनेगा? परंतु जो वैल्यू सिस्टम आपने किया है, तो आपने भी कहा कि इट एग्जिस्ट ओनली इन स्मॉल टाउन एंड विलेजेस, इट इज वैनिशिंग फ्रॉम अर्बन एरिया। डॉक्टर कुलदीप रत्नू हमारे पास हैं, मैं उनको कहूंगा कि ये कुछ आगे बढ़ाएं चर्चा, कुछ सवाल इनके दिमाग में भी होंगे जो इसके ऊपर ये सोचना चाहिए कि बातचीत होनी चाहिए। डॉक्टर साहब आपके ये कुछ?
जी
देखिए
डॉक्टर कुलदीप जी कहें।
हाँ, कुलदीप जी।
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. I would like to ask Dr. Swami. Basically, there is a problem in the present, you can say, narrative and the present generation, that we tend to view the ancient, you can say, developments and ancient history from the angle of, you can say, present value system and the present, you can say, legal system. So we tend to, you can say, give comments about, you can say, certain things which happened thousands of years ago. But even after that, if we consider the Ram's character and Ram's life, there is a very important part of his Vanvas. And in the Vanvas, he goes there and he unites the country. He goes all over the country, he unites the country, and he breaks all the barriers. The existing barriers in terms of, you can say, it could be access to learning, it could be, you can say, access to urban centers or developed centers, it could be, you can say, what we call the socio-economic barriers in today's language. He played a wonderful role in uniting that all the, you can say, scattered different communities, what we can call them as Vanvasis and other people. And that particular role, I would like Dr. Swami to, you can say, shed some light on, you can say, Ram as a unifying force for India, entire India.
Yeah. Well, I think you have really put out the most core point of today's demand about those who want to speak to me, ask me, especially the modern educated youngsters. This is what they ask me about Ram. What does he signify for the country? So let me then put it in 6 parts, and I'll be very brief. First of all, you find that when Ram moved out to the entire country, he went from Chitrakoot, then he went on the west coast to near Nasik, Panchavati, I think, and then he went down to Belgaum, then from there Kishkinda, and then to Rameshwaram, and then he went across to Sri Lanka. So he went all these places, and some issue or the other came and he showed his national outlook. For instance, when the in Kishkinda, when he defeated Bali and then got Sugriv, after that, Lakshman says to him, according to Valmiki Ramayana and the Tamil Kamban Ramayana, that why we should take monkeys to fight when your brother has got an army and is a famous Ayodhya army which once had defeated Ravan also. And so we can ask him to send the army. So Ram explains to him that if we call that army here, who is going to feed them and look after them? These very local people whom you call monkeys. And they will think that he's come here as our guest and he doesn't even have any regard for us, that he has to call the army from there. So I have to base my campaign on the people here so that they will fight with a much greater zeal than if I call people from somewhere else. So here is a national character. Similarly, when it came to the Sabari, he didn't hesitate eating Arjuta. Although Lakshman is reported by making a face about it, because he wanted to, she had waited and waited for him to come. She was running an ashram. And she waited and waited. Every day she used to decorate the pathway with the flowers so that Ram will be able to walk on it with comfort. And finally, when he came, she didn't ask his permission. She just wanted to see it is ripe or not. She bit a bit of it and then gave it, and Ram ate it. That was another demonstration. Then you again find when Ram goes to Lanka, and Vibhishana defects and comes over to his side. So Ram then holds his coronation. And again, Lakshman is very agitated. He says, why he has been all with Ravan all these days, now he comes there and you. He said, no, there should be no doubt that I'm coming for anything but to take Sita back. I am not interested in it. And there's a famous shloka, so famous verse of Rama where he says, there can be nothing more beautiful than Janmabhoomi. And whatever, because Lakshman explains to him that everything is here, Sita is here, all the wealth is here. Why we should go back? We don't know what Bharat's attitude would be. That time he explains that there cannot be a greater country than your motherland. And so, therefore, this is one lesson you learn from him. Second thing is, he is very careful about morality. He defines it according to a variety of factors. It's not simply a sadhu's mind. For example, he hides behind a tree and then kills Bali. And when Bali is dying, he says, what a coward you are. You call yourself a Kshatriya and you hid behind a tree and killed, struck an arrow in my heart. Before I die, I say, this is the height of immorality. So he says, who are you to preach immorality when you yourself have stolen the wife of Sugriv, snatched his kingdom? Only morality can be spoken between two moral people, not between an immoral person and immorality. That's the first, in my opinion, definition of strategy and tactics. That the fundamental difference between a strategy and tactics. So Ramayana is full of examples for modern world, and it should be taught in that way. That in today's environment, how do you interpret Ram? And you can go on. In the case of Sita, when they both got married and came to Ayodhya, Ram said upon entering the palace in Ayodhya that once the wife comes after the marriage for the first time to the husband's house, he's supposed to give her a prize, and I'll give you a prize, that I will never look at another woman. my father had 3 wives, but I will have only one, and that's you. And then she gave a promise to him that if I ever find in your rule as a Raja anything concerning me which is going to harm you, your royal rule or reign, I will go away. And so it is not Ram who sent Sita away, because this is some of the things these Westerners go on using. There was anti-woman. It is she who insisted. And that's why Rama built a statue of Sita. And in the throne, he sat with the statue next to him. And he never slept in the same bed as they used to sleep together. So therefore, these are the things that have to be brought out about Ram, because there is an enormous campaign going on in the Western world to interpret Ram and Ramayana and Mahabharata and all in the most derogatory terms, in the most vulgar terms. And we should educate our young people in modern terminology what Rama represented.
Dr. Swami, the question that Kuldeep raised, very fundamental question. Unification of India, the heritage we are talking about, culture we are talking about.
Yes.
Name of Lord Ram or Bhagwan Shri Ram, because they call it Lord, which is something different than Bhagwan. Bhagwan is much more revered than the Lord is.
No, because he's only Maryada Purushottam.
Yes. So, Maryada Purushottam. The question is, Ram, why it has been said that it is a Hindu something? Bhagwan Ram is beyond it. He was for the entire humanity, irrespective of what faith you had, what religion you had. Why it has been associated only because now it is coming that, okay, Ram is for everyone. Even the congressman today, Priyanka Vadra, also said, okay, Ram is good, it's good for the country, everything is good. So ultimately the environment in country is changing. That Bhagwan Ram was not only a Hindu, but he was beyond Hinduism. But what do you think, why it is associated with Hindu only?
Priyanka Gandhi's statement today reminds me of what Muhammad Ghori told Prithvi Raj, you see, after losing the battle. So it is something to be tested for the future. You know that Ghori abjectly begged mercy from Prithvi Raj, and not once, but twice or thrice, or how many times? Some people say 16 times. But this surrender of Priyanka Gandhi should not be brought into this, because the sandarbh, the context is different.
No, context I have brought, because Professor, I'm just trying to say that because Hinduism, when you say, I'm not saying
we Hindus are not imposing Ram on anyone. If the poet Iqbal can say he's Imam-e-Hind, if the Muslims themselves say, like Arif Muhammad Khan has said, we welcome that. But we are not going to say to them that Ram is for everybody, is all for you. That is not our job. And that will be impossible.
Professor, I'll ask Professor Kapil Kapoor also,
Yes.
because Ram as such, what we have read and the way we have read, it seems it is for everywhere. Any religion can have Ram Raj or Ram, principle of Ram, idea of Ram. It cuts across everything. Why suddenly, who is responsible for making it just a Hindu deity or Hindu Bhagwan? It is not a Hindu Bhagwan, it is a universal. Who is responsible for it?
Yes.
I think certainly not Hindus. Hindus Hindus do not limit Bhagwan Ram to a particular sect or themselves.
That's right.
Correct.
They don't. It is the other people, those who are envious of the continuous, unbroken tradition of Hindu civilization. They are the ones, the kind of people that Swamiji had just suggested, who do psychoanalytical interpretations of Indian great epics, like, you know, that warmonger, Krishna was a warmonger, so on and so on. They are the ones who say Hindu. But then Hindu, you see, look, 7,100 BC, 7,000, which is the astronomical dating of Bhagwan Ram, like the Mehragadi in Haryana. Now, it's not a very exaggerated date, because we have actual archaeological excavations in Haryana dating back to that.
Yes.
7100 BC, there were no Hindus, no Christians, no Islam, no nothing. It was a Sanatan Dharma. Sanatana. Sanatan means it will always be there. It is a way of, it is the ideal way of life, ideal thinking, ideal values for happy human civilization, happy human. And that is why the word Hindu also, I mean, because the Iranians could not pronounce Sa, Sindhu, they said Hindu, and the Greeks could not pronounce Ha, they said Hindu. Chinese even today call this Hindu. It was basically a term of geography, which around 13th century, for the first time with Gyaneshwar, came to be associated with the religion, because it was being attacked by another religion. Otherwise, it's not. And no Hindus ever say he is only mine, not yours. Or they say that he is my. That way, you see, the Hindus themselves today, there are Arya Samajis, there are Sanatanis, and they will say Ram is not an Arya Samaji, he is a Sanatani. It's not done. But it is, sir, there are two kinds of things. One is, some values are Shashwata.
Professor Kapoor is absolutely right. The question basically is, all these divisions are that are being created in the name of Hinduism, it doesn't belong to Hinduism. Take, for example, Rama. He was a Kshatriya. Ravan was a Brahmin. And Ram kills a Kshatriya. As a Kshatriya kills a Brahmin. And all the Brahmins worship Rama. How do you explain that? Because these were called gunas. As the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that Varna system is based on gunas. And those who are Jnanis and Tyagis are Brahmins. So Mahatma Gandhi was a Tyagi because he gave up everything. People in other countries used to laugh. Look at this man, half-naked fakir. How can the Indians follow him? They didn't understand that Gandhi had understood the psyche of the Indians. The more you sacrifice, not just a sacrifice from ab initio, you are a privileged person and you give up those privileges, then the people accept you as a great sadhu or a great leader and so on. So this, we have as a Hindu never said that we should do it. I'll add one thing more. In Parliament, when you enter the Central Hall, you have entered so many times. Please look up when you enter above the door that you entered in the Central Hall. There's a big plaque. Aham Nija Parvayati Ganana Laguchitam Udaracharita Namatu Vasudeva Kutumbak. We have always said the whole world is ours. And it also, the shloka says, don't think in these petty terms, this is mine and this is yours. So,
and this was written by
not Hindus that we have made this into a Hindu Tewar.
Professor, Dome was devised by Britishers and they made it to somebody.
Yeah,
right
they did, and we have fallen for it.
They believed also for
Indian theory
Indian
doesn't
culture.
exist. It's a bogus theory, but we believed it.
Dr. Kuldeep wants to ask something.
Oh, yes, please go.
Professor Swami, nowadays we see a lot of, you can say, agitations, movements, activism for certain rights, say animal rights and human rights and gender rights and equality and all that. When we see the life of Sri Ram, we find that in terms of, you can say, whether it is for equality for all sections of people, even treating animals at par, you can say, whether it was Jatayu and
That's
other.
right.
All those value systems, would you like to, you can say, throw some light on, you can say, how Rama has, you can say, given us a direction, which now the West is realizing that we need to wake up and we need to talk about these particular rights. But there is an example, live example before us for thousands of years.
When squirrels came to Rama saying that we also want to participate in the war, and Nala said, what you can do, these are big rocks, you could. So Rama nevertheless blessed them, and his fingers, he patted their back, and that's why those 3 lines are there on every squirrel. And these squirrels took little pebbles and went and put it there. So this is the inclusiveness that we all talk about, and it is used against Hindutva. Inclusiveness is a part of Hindutva. And in fact, you'll see in the Constitution, Article 25, the explanation number 2, that the Constitution defines Hindu as Buddhists, Christians, and Sikhs.
No, Buddhist, not Christians.
No, excuse me, not Christians. Sorry. Hindus, Buddhists. Hindus as defined as Buddhists, inclusive of Buddhists, Sikhs, and Jains. Yes, sorry, it was a slip of the tongue. And I will say that the Christians and the Muslims are the excluded people, and the Parsis. Parsis, I'm not so sure that it's correct to exclude them, because Zoroastrian ideas are very, very similar to ours. But anyway, it has been excluded. So this is the issue. I'm sorry if I said Christian, but I never thought in my wildest dreams that I would say that. It's a slip that came. I wanted to say excluding Christians and Muslims.
Professor Kapoor, Bhagwan Ram's
Yes.
life has been part of our several, you can say, folklores and literature. How do you see, you have been a professor of English literature as well as professor of Sanskrit. So considering such a vast literature which you have read, what is the impact of Bhagwan Sri Ram on Indian literature? Would you like to, you can say, if you can throw some light on us and guide us?
I think everybody knows that the Ramayana, Valmiki Ramayana and the Ramakatha, it has spread not only across India, but it has spread across Asia, and particularly South Asia, Southeast Asia, and in all Indian languages. Swamiji had mentioned Kamban. He was the first one who put Valmiki's Sanskrit Ramayana into Tamil in 9th century AD. From there to Shankar Dev in the 14th, 15th century in Assam. All languages, through all languages, it got adapted or adopted or, redaction or something. So first of all, it has the Ramakatha has been one of the things which has been instrumental in vernacularizing Indian knowledge. India's knowledge, which was in Sanskrit, when Sanskrit ceased to be spoken language, it was vernacularized to Ramakatha, which was adopted in all Indian language. Secondly, Ramayana, Ramakatha, because Ramayana to ek hi hai Valmiki ki, Ramakatha anant hai, और Ramakatha are the substance of, Ramakatha is the substance of much of Indian art, crafts, folk performances, and whether it is a geet, songs, or it is a natak, or it is a katha. Ram Katha is the spring of most of Indian folk literature and folk arts. और राम लीला तो आप जानते ही हैं, हर गांव में राम लीला होती है. And thirdly, जितने हमारे philosophical संप्रदाय हुए हैं, जितने निम्बारक है और ये जो वल्लभ संप्रदाय हुआ, जितने संप्रदाय महाराष्ट्र के 18वीं 17वीं शताब्दी के, सारे संप्रदायों में जो आराध्य थे वो राम ही थे. और राम के ऊपर तुलसी की सारी जो कवितावली है, तुलसी की सारी कवितावली राम पर. इसी प्रकार रीजनल भाषाओं में भी कवि हुए हैं जिन्होंने सिर्फ राम पे ही कविता लिखे. और चौथी बात, पूरी भाषा हमारी जो है, भाषा जो जन्म से लेकर मृत्यु तक, हमारी भाषा राम की लोकोक्तियां और राम शब्द के साथ जुड़े हुए शब्दों से भरी हुई है. एक हरियाणा प्रदेश हमारे बिल्कुल पास है. मैं 4 साल वहां रहा गांव में, जिन्होंने सिर्फ राम पे ही कविता लिखी. और चौथी बात, पूरी भाषा हमारी जो है, भाषा जो
रिकॉर्डिंग. हाँ सर, आप बोलिए. बोलिए सर, बोलिए।
हाँ, मैं कह रहा था कि जैसे हरियाणा है, आप अगर हरियाणा में जाएंगे तो हर चीज राम से जुड़ी है। वर्षा हो रही है, राम जी बरस रहे हैं। वर्षा नहीं हो रही, राम ना बरसे। अच्छा,
Ayaram
राम
and
ने,
Dayaram was also Ram.
हाँ, सब राम राम राम। और ये जो भाषा जो है वो राममय है, जीवन राममय है, लोक जीवन खासकर राममय है। जब आपको कष्ट होता है तो राम का नाम आता है, सुख होता है तो राम का नाम आता है, राम का नाम आता है।
Right.
ये एक राम प्रतीक बन गए, राम प्रतीक बन गए हमारी संस्कृति के। और क्योंकि प्रतीक बन गए तो प्रतीक को मूर्त रूप दिया गया, मूर्त रूप दिया गया। कई प्रकार के विग्रह बने, सौम्य राम है, धनुर्धारी राम है, और वनवासी राम है। आपका देवप्रयाग का जो मंदिर है उसमें राम जो है वो वनवासी है, वो जो वन में जा रहे हैं। और सौम्य राम है जिनके पीछे हनुमान खड़े। और धनुर्धारी राम तो ये पूरे राम जन्मभूमि मूवमेंट में हमने उनका वो विग्रह देखा है। तो जो विग्रह बनाए जाते हैं, जो अमूर्त संस्कृत, हमारी संस्कृति के जो मूल्य, अमूर्त मूल्य थे, उनको प्रतीक रूप में राम है। और उस प्रतीक को मूर्त रूप क्राफ्ट्समैन ने दिया, स्टोन कार्वर्स ने दिया, पेंटर्स ने दिया, सब ने दिया। और इसलिए मैं नहीं सोचता कि भारत में आप कहीं भी जाएं, और भारत भरा पड़ा है रामपुर से, रामनाथ से, राम कुमार से, नामों में, जगहों में। आप एक ट्रैवल करिए, आपको 100 किलोमीटर में कम से कम 50 राम गांव मिलेंगे, रामपुर मिलेंगे, राम गैर मिलेंगे। तो राममय है, जीवन राममय है। और राममय इसीलिए है कि देखिए, एक बड़ी बात है, महात्मा बुद्ध भी त्याग की मूर्ति थे, परंतु उन्होंने इस गृहस्थ जीवन का त्याग करके वो उन्हीं जीवन मूल्यों को उन्होंने बताया। परंतु राम ने इस जीवन में रहते हुए, गृहस्थ में रहते हुए, मर्यादाओं के साथ वो हमारे हृदय में इसलिए समा गए कि वो हमारे बड़े नजदीक है, वो हमारी तरह हैं। और जिस प्रकार हनुमान जी,
प्रोफेसर साहब हम जरा कॉन्टेक्स्ट में आ जाते हैं। एक बार कंस्ट्रक्शन हो रहा है कल से, तो आई एम ट्राइंग टू आस्क डॉक्टर स्वामी अगेन, कमिंग बैक टू हिम।
जी सर,
दैट्स राम symbolizes many things. You are an economist also. If I have to put in modern people understand the language of markets and economics and stock markets, Ram Raj, if you have to interpret that, what would have been the economics of Ram? Would have been welfare economics or market economics? How do you interpret the Ram Raj in terms of economic language?
These are Western terms. There is an Indian term coined by Dindayal Upadhyay called Ekatma Manavad, where the core of Hinduism is presented in this form in economics, that the pursuit of wealth is justified with the growth of spiritual values. And the highest in society will be those who are in charge of the knowledge. That is why the Jnani and Tyagi concept comes for a Brahmin. And if you see, the next most important factor in life is defending the nation. That's why the Kshatriyas are considered second in line. And then comes the people who make wealth. And there you are recognized only if the excess of your wealth to your needs and your future investments is donated to society. So philanthropy was a huge thing. Today is non-existent. And if you look at the Western economics, it is all one-dimensional, more. And that is the difference between the Ram Rajya economics and the economics of the West. They talk in terms of macroeconomics, welfare economics, and so on. The whole economy is structured around to make the people morally, spiritually superior. And we all know it is repeatedly said, without an adequate economic position, you cannot pursue spiritualism. Spiritualism cannot be pursued in poverty. although those who practice it must not have any aspiration for that richness.
No, but for me, one thing is happening because the Ram construction, Mandir construction is starting now. People who are opposed to
Yes.
the idea of it will always say it is beginning of Hindu Rashtra because they want to narrow down to communalism the whole concept of
Yes.
Ram Mandir construction. Why I'm saying because you as a proponent of Hinduism and Ram Raja must be able to in a better position to explain the Ram Raja. What does it mean in terms of people's welfare, in terms of economics, in terms of caste system? The Ram Raja, when we say Ram Raj Aayega, it means what will be different than what was happening in the country so far in terms of cultural unity, in terms of economic prosperity?
In a nutshell, it means the implementation of the Indian Constitution. Because all the concepts of Ram and what he propagated, what Ram Raja represents, is there in the directive principles, in the fundamental rights, in the advocacy of language. All these are there in the Constitution.
So, Doctor,
And
are
I
you
don't
saying,
think-
Doctor, are you saying that those who wrote the Constitution, they were better Ram Bhakt?
Absolutely. Ambedkar was one of the finest. Read his
Nehru was
books.
also there.
Nehru made him bitter. So therefore, towards the end of his life, he became very, very harsh. But if you see his thesis, his seminar papers in Columbia University in 1915, and subsequently his books, he is perhaps the most articulate spokesman of Hindutva I can think of. I've read every one of those books, and that's why I revere him as a man who Jawaharlal Nehru targeted and drove him to a corner, made him lose Lok Sabha elections after Lok Sabha elections, and made him bitter. But the fact of the matter is that those who framed the Constitution were three principal people. One, the President of the Constituent Assembly, Rajendra Prasad. Two, the chairman of the Fundamental Rights Committee, Sardar Patel. And three, the person in charge of the amendments and the presentation and the passage of the Constitution, Dr. Ambedkar. So these are the three people who, and
Doctor,
all
if you have
of
to
them,
go back, if you go back to Harvard, which you will be invited, I hopefully soon, to give a lecture. If you are asked to give a
I don't
lecture on Ram Raj, why should Americans follow the Ram Raj principle? What would you teach them, other than what was the economic part of it?
I will first tell you, give up your pursuit of pleasure as your model, which is there. The pursuit of happiness and pleasure is the fundamental goal of an American. And you say that is a wrong approach. You must have a more systemic or systems approach to it. You should have many dimensions, and you should find a synthesis of that dimensions, those so many dimensions. That is what Ram Raja would teach you. And if I were to ask, teach as an economist, I will not say maximization of profits for business and maximization of utility of consumption for the consumer, but I will say harmonization of resource allocation in society. So it will be a different objective function, as they say, not maximization of profit, not maximization of your individual pleasure, but in taking the social maximization of the various angles and see how it can be blended together for maximum growth. We were the richest country in the world till 1750. And why? Because that we pursued it in this way. Environment was an integral part of Hindu culture. And so why we were so prosperous, and that's why so many people came from abroad to loot us.
Professor Kapoor, आपसे मैं पूछना चाहूँगा, but now the Ram Mandir is the reality of life
Economics.
after years. So what does it mean now? You will feel that because it will become a symbol of national unity, where everybody will follow. Okay, now the Mandir is the reality. We must accept it, and it's a part of India. It's a part of Bharat, which everybody has to accept. Will it lead to more tension? What will the outcome of this?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. मैं नहीं समझता कि टेंशन बढ़ेगी. ये ज्यादातर जो बुद्धिजीवी है ना, हमारे बुद्धिजीवी जो बुद्धि बेच के जीविका कमाते हैं, वो लोग लिख लिख के पैसे कमाते हैं, और जितनी कंट्रोवर्सी बनती है, जितना झगड़े बढ़ते हैं, उनकी कमाई भी बढ़ती है। पर जो आम जनता है इस देश की, आम जनता, मैं फिर गांव में जाऊंगा, क्योंकि सर मैं गांव में ही बड़ा हुआ था। पाकिस्तान बनने के बाद गांव में ही रहा कई साल, और मैं 70 साल से 74 की उम्र तक फिर गांव में ही रहा। गांव में कोई किसी को पता ही नहीं होता किसकी जात क्या है, किसका धर्म क्या है। ये जो प्रश्न होते हैं, मल्टी कल्चरलिज्म, मल्टी लिंगुअलिज्म, मल्टी फलाना रिलीजन, ये शहरियों के सेमिनार करने होते हैं, नहीं तो सेमिनार किस पे करेंगे। मैं गांव में, मैंने पूछा एक बार गांव में,
वेबिनार का आजकल वेबिनार करने होते हैं।
वेबिनार, अब एवरीबॉडी इज ए वेबिनारी। वेबिनारी, मतलब पॉइंट इज है, आपका जो प्रश्न है कि ये बढ़ेगा नहीं। मैं मानता हूं कि सर गांव में जब रामलीला होती थी तो मुसलमान लड़के भी वानर सेना में सब होते थे, किसी को नहीं पता होता था कौन क्या है। और जो मानसिकता श्रद्धा की, धर्म बदल गया, कुछ चीजें नई जरूर आई, परंतु जो एक कोर जो एकात्मता है ना, कोर एकात्मता है। और मैं मानता हूं कि धीरे धीरे वो श्रद्धा ऊपर आएगी। ये तो एक बात। दूसरा, अगर आप मुझे थोड़ा परमिट करें तो मैं थोड़ा इकोनॉमिक्स पे आऊं, राम राज्य पे।
जी जी,
देखिए बहुत बढ़िया, स्वामी जी से ही मैंने क्यों लिया है। मैंने दो बातें कही, संयम, नियम, श्रद्धा। आप इन तीनों को कन्वर्ट करिए। संयम, आपने प्रकृति का दोहन नहीं करना, संयम से करना है। राजा पृथु ने 5 बार धरती का दोहन किया, सूखा पड़ गया, सरस्वती नदी सूख गई। इसलिए दोहन नहीं करना धरती का, इस नेचर का। और नियम, हर चीज एक तरीके से। तरीका क्या है, आपने अगर एक पेड़ में से लकड़ी लेनी है तो आप उसका तना नहीं काटेंगे, आप उसकी जो सूखी ब्रांचेस हैं वो लेंगे, और आप वो सूखी ब्रांचेस को तोड़ने के लिए आप कोई एक बड़ा ह्यूज मैकेनिकल कटर नहीं लाएंगे। आप एक छोटी सी होगी कुल्हाड़ी, छोटा सा होगा जो कटबो से। तो जो टेक्नोलॉजी आपकी होगी वो भी स्मॉल टेक्नोलॉजी होगी, और एक्सप्लॉयटेशन आपकी लिमिटेड होगी, आप दोहन नहीं करेंगे। और तीसरी श्रद्धा। श्रद्धा, वेदों में बहुत सुंदर एक आता है कि एक लकड़हारा जब पेड़ काटना लगता है तो उससे पहले एक प्रेयर बोलता है, अपनी उस कुल्हाड़ी को कहता है कि प्लीज कट दी ब्रांचेस काइंडली, ब्रांचेस को काइंडली काटना। तो इसमें कुछ जो मटेरियल स्केप्टिक्स हमारे देश में हुए हैं, वो अच्छी बात है, हमने उनको भी ऋषि माना। उन्होंने कहा कि ये तो इट इज आस्किंग फॉर द कंबाइनिंग द इम्पॉसिबल, हाउ कैन यू आर गोइंग टू कट द ब्रांच एंड से बी काइंड। Then the answer that another thinker, Indian thinker, 9th century BC gives, that when a surgeon cuts the gangrenous limb of a patient, he is using his knife kindly. तो श्रद्धा के साथ, रेवरेंस के साथ। इसलिए हमारे यहाँ आप देखेंगे जब बिस्कुट बनाने वाले भी जब पहले ट्रे डालने से पहले थोड़ी सी लोई अग्नि को देते हैं, ऑफर करते हैं। ये जीवन पद्धति है आम लोगों में। हम लोग भूल गए, हम लोग क्योंकि हम पढ़ गए। मेरी एक डेफिनेशन मैं बोल दूं सर कि अनपढ़ देश में वो है जो पढ़ लिख गया, जो शिक्षा में पढ़ लिख गया वो अनपढ़ हो गया, वो कट गया अपने आप से। जैसे हमारे बच्चे एग्जाम देने जाते हैं तो अपने पेन को साफ करते हैं और चलते हुए भगवान को नमस्कार करके जाते हैं। ये जो मंगलाचरण है, वो चाहे हमारा कारपेंटर हो, हमारा कोई भी वो जो क्राफ्ट्समैन है, वो सारे हमारे क्राफ्ट्समैन भी साधक हैं। तो सर जो हमारी इकोनॉमी होगी वो इनसे ड्रिवन होगी, इन प्रिंसिपल से। और एक और दूसरा प्रिंसिपल है जो कि हमारे यहाँ मोक्ष का साधन माना गया है, भगवत गीता में है, टू सी योर सेल्फ इन अदर्स एंड टू सी अदर्स इन योर सेल्फ। इसलिए यू विल नॉट सीक थिंग्स फॉर योर सेल्फ, you will seek things for everybody. You will not search for your happiness by money, but you will search for happiness of everybody. So धन का सदुपयोग करेंगे, और धन का जो उपार्जन है वो धर्म से करेंगे, धर्म से करेंगे। ये इकोनॉमिक्स है। बड़ी
Dr. Ratnu wants to ask question. Dr. साहब बोलिए।
Dr. Swami,
Yes.
Avatar's life is all about, you can say, defeating the tamasic forces, the Danavas, the Rakshasas, and
Yes.
protecting and preserving and strengthening the Sattvic forces. And as we see, Ram's and Bhagwan Sri Ram's entire life, he goes to, you can say, forest. Earlier he was taken by his gurus to kill the Danavas.
आपकी आवाज धीमी आ रही है रत्नु जी।
He was taken to Vanvas by his gurus, the rishis, to
Yes.
defeat the Danavas and the Rakshasas who were disturbing the yogis and the rishis.
Yes.
Similarly,
Yes.
when he went to, again, he was given the Vanvas for 14 years. Again, Bhagwan Sri Ram fights with the Danavas and Rakshasas who were troubling the people who were living in hinterlands, in the what we call in the forest area.
Yes.
So
Yes.
this entire life of, you can say, and then finally he kills the biggest demon, what we can call the negative or the tamasic person, Ravana. Now,
Yes.
taking back that particular, you can say, incident of destruction of Ram Janmabhoomi, and how with that destruction the tamasic forces emerge stronger in India, and now we are starting a new chapter of reconstruction of Ram Janmabhoomi temple. So do you
Yes.
see it as again emergence of, you can say, strengthening of Sattvic forces and defeat of demonic forces, the negative forces, the tamasic forces?
Well, it's not only Sattvic forces, because we do need people who will defend this country and spill blood for it. And if the literal meaning of Sattvic would not fit in that. So I think what we need is the combination of Sattvic and the Tamasic and the Rajasic forces. And that is why our rishis, especially Bhrigu and Bharadwaja, designed this concept of Varna. Varna was not based on birth, because Vishwamitra was not born in a Brahmin family. He was born in a Kshatriya family, but he became a Maharishi. And so Vedvyasa also, his mother was a fisherwoman. And you can go on giving more and more examples. Kalidasa was Vanavasi. He was cutting branches of trees before he became the greatest poet. You see, and there was no such thing as a Brahmin who if he went in the wrong way, shouldn't be killed. This is the example of Ravan. He was a great Pandit. And Shiva used to be at his beck and call, that kind of position he had. And ultimately, a Kshatriya killed him, and the society rejoiced in it. So I think what we need is, we have to defend ourselves, and we have to defend ourselves recognizing the Rakshas forces against you. And that is how you can build a balanced society. Everybody becomes Sattvic, then I don't think we can defend our society.
I agree with sir. May I, Chawla ji, may I say something?
जी, please.
ये जो पुनर्निर्माण है, हमारा जो भारत का इतिहास, बौद्धिक इतिहास मैं कहूँगा, जिस तरह हम जो भारतवासी हैं, हम अपने देश, संस्कृति, सभ्यता का इतिहास कैसे देखते हैं, उसमें कम से कम 28 बार हमारी संस्कृति का ह्रास हुआ, उसका ध्वंस हुआ, और फिर उसका पुनरुत्थान हुआ। ये जो व्यास परंपरा है, हमारे यहाँ माना गया कि 28 व्यास हुए हैं। हमारे यहाँ जब भी धर्म की हानि हुई, तो कोई ना कोई भगवत कृपा से महापुरुष ने फिर धर्म की रक्षा की, दो ढंग से, शस्त्र से और शास्त्र से। और क्योंकि जब ये आसुरी फोर्सेस कहिए, या मैं मानता हूं कि 11वीं शताब्दी के बाद ही ये यहाँ शुरू हुआ कि हमारे प्रतीकों को ध्वंस किया गया, मंदिरों को तोड़ा गया। मेरी माँ बहुत बड़ी इतिहासकार थी, वो एक वाक्य में इतिहास बताती थी। उनको आधुनिक भारत का इतिहास का उनका वाक्य था, बेटा राजे बदला करते थे, रियाया नहीं बदलती थी, पहली बार हुआ कि रियाया बदली। और मध्यकाल का मैंने पूछा, मध्यकाल 5वीं 4वीं में पढ़ता था, बोले मध्यकाल वो मंदिर तोड़ते रहते थे, हम मंदिर बनाते रहते थे। दिस बिल्डिंग, डिस्ट्रक्शन एंड रीबिल्डिंग, दिस हैज बीन ए काल चक्र। हमारा वो काल चक्र 8 धुरियों वाला कोणार्क के जो व्हील में है, 8 घड़ियों वाला काल चक्र जो है, ये चलता रहा है। और ये जो अभी सर ने बिल्कुल ठीक कहा, क्षात्र धर्म, जब क्षात्र धर्म कमजोर हो जाता है तो आप अपनी धरोहर, अपनी संस्कृति, अपने मूल्यों, जीवन मूल्यों की रक्षा नहीं कर पाते, और वो एक फेलियर है। इसलिए क्षात्र धर्म का भी पुनर्स्थापना करनी पड़ती है, और लोग करते हैं। गुरु गोविंद सिंह जी, मैं अगर भगवान राम के नजदीक किसी को लाऊं मर्यादा पुरुषोत्तम, तो गुरु गोविंद सिंह जी, वो भी गृहस्थ में रहे, पर उन्होंने भी, वो भी त्याग मूर्ति, त्याग, 4 बेटे मरवा दिए, अपना आप कर गया, सब कुछ छोड़ दिया सिर्फ धर्म की रक्षा के लिए, ताकि सर्व सकल हिंदू धर्म गाजे। ये उनका अपना स्टेटमेंट था, सर्व सकल हिंदू धर्म गाजे। तो ये जब मंदिर तोड़ा गया, गोविंद देव गढ़वाल का बनाया हुआ मंदिर था, 14वीं-15वीं शताब्दी का, जब इसको तोड़ा गया, मीर बाकी ने तोड़ा। आपको ध्यान होगा ओल्ड टेस्टामेंट में कि यहूदियों का सोलोमन का मंदिर तोड़ा गया, और साम्स में डिस्क्राइब्ड है कि वो यहूदी जो खड़े थे, हेल्पलेस थे, वो रो रहे थे और मंदिर तोड़ा जा रहा था। आप इमेजिन करिए दुर्दशा लोगों की जब ये तोड़ा गया होगा। पर हिंदू, मीर बाकी के समय के भी जो हिंदू थे, वो रोए नहीं। लाखों लोग, 20 साल मंदिर तोड़ने के बाद 20 साल वहां संघर्ष चलता रहा, और लाखों लोग वीर गति को प्राप्त हुए। तो हिंदू कभी भी क्षीण नहीं हुआ। एक भी वर्ष नहीं है हमारे इतिहास का जब कहीं ना कहीं कोई हिंदू वॉरियर लड़ ना रहा हो। एक मैं अगर जिक्र करूं आपकी आज्ञा से, कार्ल मार्क्स की एक किताब है, नोट्स ऑन इंडियन हिस्ट्री। वो कहते हैं कि द ग्रेट वेलियंट पर्शियंस, दे वर डिफीटेड एंड कन्वर्टेड इन 30 years, 30 साल में। ग्रेट पर्शियंस, डेरियस, सरसूस वगैरह, 30 साल में 669 to 699 Iran was defeated and converted. Then he asks, what is the reason that the Hindus put up such a deadly resistance that it took them such a long time to come from the borders to Delhi? इसको मैंने पैराफ्रेज किया, 400 साल लग गए इन्वेडर्स को 800 मील कवर करने में। Every year they fought, every inch was fought. Then he asked, Karl Marx asked, ये कैसे हुआ? So he says, because Iran's ruling class was morally decrepit. They were not able to lead this society. They were not examples. But the Brahmins, the Pandits of India, unfortunately, we have made Brahmins the Jews of India. जैसे वहां सब कुछ गलती जो है वो जूस की है, यहाँ सब बारिश नहीं हो रही तो ब्राह्मणों के कारण नहीं हो रही।
ब्राह्मण आपके बगल में बैठे हैं ना स्वामी साहब।
हाँ, तो मैं तो नहीं ब्लेम कर, मैं तो क्षत्रिय हूँ, मैं तो इनकी रक्षा करता हूँ, मैं तो इनकी तरफ से बोल रहा हूँ। तो
कश्मीरी पंडित भी बैठे हैं ऊपर।
मार्क्स ने कहा कि जो पंडित थे वो हर गांव में,
अच्छा राजस्थान से,
they were moral leaders, examples, they organized the resistance. That's why, sir, Swamiji knows, whenever a town, even a town was captured by the invading forces, first thing they did was to break the temple. Second thing, because the Brahmins used to stay around the temple, general slaughter of Brahmins to break the, and the British people followed anti-Brahminism as a state policy. 1884 का भंडारकर जी का एक आर्टिकल है, anti-Brahminism as a state policy. Unfortunately, in the last 74 years, we have continuously had anti-Brahminism as a state policy.
But the Professor, if you go by politics of India, Brahmins have been ruling India all over the place. Anti-Brahminism, I don't understand what context you meant. You must be talking about Brahminism as a thought.
There is a section of Brahmins who always take to the ideology which is going to rule. Then they cease to be Brahmins. चंद्रशेखर जी ने, सर स्वामी चंद्रशेखरन जी जो थे साउथ वाले, उन्होंने कहा कि जो तमिलनाडु के जो ब्राह्मणों की जो दुर्दशा हो रही है वो उनके कारण से हो रही है. उनका सम्मान तब था जब वो वेदों का अध्ययन करते थे और मंदिरों में पूजा अर्चना करते थे. उन्होंने अंग्रेजी पढ़ के नौकरियां करनी शुरू कर दी और उनके बच्चों ने वेद पढ़ने बंद कर दिए. अब तो ब्राह्मण वेद पढ़ते नहीं, अब तो कपूर खन्ने मल्होत्रे मेरे जैसे पढ़ते हैं.
Let us go back to the Ram Mandir.
I want to conclude with one thing. This rebuilding of the temple.
Yeah, come back to that.
It has happened. मेरी mother ने कहा ना, वो मंदिर तोड़ते रहते थे, हम बनाते रहते थे. We rebuilt because these are our pratik. These are our symbols. If the temple is destroyed and I am not able to do anything, then I am a slave. But when I am swatantra, then I build the temple. And as long as I am free and strong, the temple shall stand beautiful and strong.
और दो बाकी हैं, काशी विश्वनाथ और
अभी दो
मथुरा.
जी सर.
Dr. Swami, now that since temple is now coming up, it is a reality. Do you think there will be less tension in politics now? There will be less division along pro-Ram and anti-Ram forces. It's total polarization from Narasimha Rao.
Anti-Ram sections have been in power for all these years. And so now they have lost power due to Ram. The Hindu consolidation began with the Ram movement. And the present generation of Congress leaders don't realize it was actually begun by Rajiv Gandhi when he showed the Ramayan serial on Doordarshan against the total objections of his party people. I was there. I was, in fact, his very good friend, and I knew how much difficulty he had, but he got it done. And he allowed Shilanyas of the Vishnu Parishad also. And also he gave Devriya Baba a promise that if he came back, he will definitely build the temple. Then came Narasimha Rao, who actually gave an affidavit to the Supreme Court that if it is ever found that there was a pre-existing Hindu temple in where the masjid stood, then he will hand over the entire land to the Hindus to build a temple. And that was a basis of my arguments in the Supreme Court.
But
So,
Swami, finish, yeah, please.
These traditions have been forgotten. And of course, Ashok Singhal. And I don't agree with the idea that Brahmins are born. There is the concept of Dvija, and you have to get the sanskar of a Brahmin before you can be called a Brahmin.
No, Swami, I'm asking because I can't ask them political question. IPF is there, so I'm asking on behalf of Indian Express, not on behalf of anybody else.
Yes.
So let it be very clear. So it's my personal question to you. The Ram Raj and Ram Mandir is a reality, as I said earlier also. Don't you think that when the construction was going on, it should have become a all-party, I wouldn't call it a political function? And you are not there. I don't know whether you were invited or not invited.
No, I was not invited. I was not invited.
So many other people who were associated.
If I had come there, all the sadhus would have got up and cheered me, and that would have had a bad effect on those on the stage.
I'm just saying, don't you think it would have been an ideal to invite all the people who are not supporting? Kamal Nath is organizing Hanuman Chalisa in his house. Priyanka Gandhi, as I said in the morning, she said it. Digvijay Singh has also said it. The entire Congress, except Communist Party or somebody else, everybody is supporting the Ram Mandir. It means there is a consensus building up in the country in favor of consensus, whether it's because of Modi or because
Why do I say everywhere that it is Rajiv Gandhi and Narasimha Rao who laid the foundations for the Ram temple to be made, and it is Ashok Singhal's agitation. Ashok Singhal, by the way, called a press conference on in 2015 and said, in my lifetime, Ram temple is not coming. And in front of all the office bearers of the Vishwa Hindu Parishad, said, I am giving it to Dr. Swami because he saved Ram Setu, and I'm sure that he will get the Ram temple built. I did it only for him. So I don't mind if I'm invited, not invited. My work and my commitment to Ashok Singhal is over.
It is
No, I'm
irrelevant.
saying it should have been a non-political function. No, everybody should have been party to it, isn't it? And build
You
the unity
please
of
tell
India.
your favorite prime minister, because you members of the press don't tell him anything.
No,
So he
he's a
thinks
favorite of
that
the
you are
country.
all
He has
in
been
approval.
elected. He has been elected by the people, 306 seats. So
Exactly,
nobody has
he's
done.
elected people. That doesn't deprive you of your right as a pressman to tell him where he should do something different from what he's doing.
But it is a trust who has invited people, not him. I've seen the invitation
Okay.
card. It comes from
All right.
trust.
All right, you live in that mythology. I don't mind.
But I'm saying that after this, but I asked you the first question, the politics of Ram is ended now or it has begun?
There was no politics of Ram ever. We just said it should be built. And I mean, we are not going to stop here. There are two more. And in fact, on the 7th, I have to get a clarification on an act passed which said that except for the Ram Mandir, Babri Masjid controversy, all other places we will take whatever was standing in 1947 shall now remain without any dispute. And I said that this violates my fundamental rights, so exceptions have to be made still. And the Kashi Vishwanath and the Krishna
Mathura
Janmabhoomi,
Janmasthan.
yes,
Mathura.
these two have to be kept out of that act. And because that act, if it covers these two places, then it's unconstitutional.
Dr. Ratnu, you want to ask any questions? Because we want to conclude after this.
Now again, you can say moving slightly away from politics. Professor Kapoor talked about, you can say, value system and maryadas. I would request Dr. Swami to guide us, enlighten us, because this is an era of social media. And we feel that impact of an influence of this westernized education system has moved our younger people away from our maryadas and our value systems. Now, how social media, because you have been very active on social media also, how social media can be effectively utilized to instill those value systems, because they have, now we are, you can say, talking about reforming the education system, new policy and all. But those who have already got educated, those who are already in the, you can say, professional field, so how we can work among them, if you could.
Well, I propagate in social media that we must learn 5 things. What our true identity is, and based on DNA studies, we are all one people, irrespective of which caste we belong, which region we belong, which religion we belong. We have the same DNA. There was no Aryan Dravidian theory. We are one people, and so this is one thing that I keep propagating. 2, that every Indian language has a huge proportion of Sanskrit words, including Tamil. Tamil has 40% Sanskrit words. Bengali has much more. Malayalam has much more. But every language has got Sanskrit vocabulary. And over a period of time, if Hindi becomes more and more Sanskritized, as is required under the Constitution, please read Article 3 of 51, which says that the vocabulary of Hindi shall be principally from the Sanskrit language. And it's there in the Constitution. So we must now develop the Sanskrit to the Hindi to the point becomes practically indistinguishable from Sanskrit. And because it's artificial intelligence is now thinking of basing all the software in Sanskrit language for easy understanding by a computer, because in English PUT is put and BUT is but, and the computer gets confused. So to have clarity, Sanskrit is now being thought of the language of artificial intelligence. So it's the language of the future. The third is a correct understanding of our history. It's all bogus history that is taught today. We must teach the correct history. And the fourth is to have integral humanism as the economic principles on which we build our theology, our economic theology. And fifth is Ram Rajya and the concept of governance arising from Ram Rajya. These 5 things, if we
Good.
can propagate, I think we will have a new Indian born in a very short time.
I think we are discussed about Kuldeep. Can we conclude now?
Just last
Yeah,
question.
please. Last question, because yeah.
Dr. Swami, again, a question to you.
Yes,
We see the Indonesian Muslims, you can
yes,
say, very, very proud of their heritage and their
yes,
history.
yes,
And
yes.
Lord, you can say Bhagwan Ram and Mahabharata and all.
yes,
Do you foresee a time when Indian Muslims and you can
yes.
say Christians, they also accept Bhagwan Sri Ram as their, you can say, role model, as Maryada Purushottam, as their ancestors believed in?
That's right. The first and foremost thing is that the Muslims, Christians have already accepted it, but the Muslims should accept that their ancestors are Hindus, and that DNA studies completely supports that. And once that happens, then you may have, you may pray to Allah in your own way, but your culture should be the mainstream of India. And that process was there. For long years, people, you know, the Muslims adopted many of the Hindu customs, and that's only after this oil wealth began to be used that now the consciousness that we are an international community that has harmed the unity. And that is coming back, because we saw in the elections, last elections, that the Muslim women were all voting for BJP. And it turned out that because we stood up, we as Hindus stood up for abolishing triple talaq. And so as they find that we are not hostile to the thing as the propaganda has made it out to be, the Hindu-Muslim unity is inevitable in the future.
Okay, Professor, I think I'll thank everybody here. It was a good discussion. I think with the construction of Ram, it is very clear that India has to live with the idea of Ram. It doesn't divide India, it unites, because it's a cultural unity. It's a unity of thought, it's a unity of living, it's a living, everything. Ram symbolizes unity and diversity. Therefore, it should be followed by everybody else. That's the conclusion we have drawn. And Swami is fighting many battles. He has won some, he has lost also some, but ultimately he'll win final battle as well, which is pointed out in the discussion. Thank you, Professor Swami. Thank you, Professor Kapoor. Thank you, Ratnu, for doing some kind of questioning.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very
sir.
much.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks, sir.
Thank you. Okay, bye.